Welcome to another episode of No Investment Advice. You got the NIA boy again. This is only Trung today and Bilal. We've got Jack, hopefully might join later, but unfortunately he's tied up at an appointment that he can't get out of. So
we're all frazzled right now. People, you guys can't tell, but the entire NIA crew's frazzled. Bilal is flying out in like an hour and a half right after this episode. I just got back from Barcelona literally less than 12 hours ago. And I mean, you guys will laugh. We got jacked on the last day in Barcelona.
We will laugh.
Listen, I'll tell you why you will laugh though. So the first reason you'll laugh is it was a type of jacking where your passports weren't taken, nobody was hurt, right? It was a pickpocket jacking. It doesn't make it okay, but like things could be way worse. And here's where you guys will laugh. I know for a fact that these pickpockets in Barcelona saw Trung Phan, his wife, and a 4-year-old pushing around a stroller, and they're like, these are marks right here. These mainland Chinese-looking people probably have expensive stuff, and they're distracted by the kid. I'm serious, right?
Were you rocking the?
No, I had the MERS. So I had the MERS. Okay, but my wife, she had like the arm bag, and then we had the stroller and the kid. So like, if you're a pickpocket, you're like, who is going to be the most distracted people? The parents, right?
Yeah,
it's like
completely.
My kid's running around like a madman, and like they're just looking for openings. I guarantee you that if you had like a checkbox for easiest marks, it would be smaller looking Asian dudes like me that probably aren't going to beat you up.
Don't underdo yourself, mate.
Well, listen, I've been known to throw some bows back in the day, but I'm just saying, objectively,
peaceful guy now.
Yeah, I'm a peaceful guy, but if you're a pickpocket, I'm just putting myself in their shoes. They're looking around. They see me with the stroller. They see the kid running around. They're like, this guy's a mark. But I had the MERS. My wife had the arm bag, and she gave it to me.
You said you're calling it a MERS, but is this the thing that wraps around? Like you saw me.
Well, I know it was a fanny pack that I put on my chest.
Yeah, same. Yeah, look, hype beast there. Yeah.
But so like, I'm not telling this story to people. Like, oh, Trung got jacked. I feel so bad for him. I just think it's funny. But Bilal, Barcelona, as you will know, is the pickpocket capital of the world. I think you were mentioning something.
I was saying that they weren't mine, but my parents, something happened to them there as well, where someone pushed one, and then in that chaos you're like, oh, what the hell is happening? And in that time they pickpocket you
on a train, and
that's they run off
so
the train.
savage.
Yeah, so and we were just saying how fun Barcelona is. Such a beautiful place, and like there's so much fun stuff to do, and that sort of stuff obviously kind of ruins the trip if it happens.
Barcelona was sick. It was unbelievable.
So wait, how was your whole trip? I know we're going to talk a little bit later about Michelin. So we're going to let's tell people what we're going to talk about, because people have been watching the Minions dudes on the internet, right? This super viral moment. We're going to break it down. People turning up to movie theaters wearing suits, and why the Minions movie has been a blockbuster hit because of TikTok and YouTube and others. We're going to break that down. Also, after Trung's just been rolling out in Europe for the last few weeks, we're going to talk about how the Michelin guide makes money. Because that's a really
Trung hit his first Michelin restaurant ever.
Exactly. We want to hear the review. Anthony Bourdain it.
You guys will appreciate it, because when on this trip, I only brought one pair of shoes, so it's a pair of flip flops. So your boy rolled up into a fancy Michelin star restaurant wearing board shorts and flip flops.
Wait, that's hilarious. No, wait, did they make you change or anything?
Yo. They ain't making me change, man. We put a fat deposit down. They're letting us in that restaurant.
Man, true story. In New York one time, if anyone's lived in New York or been to New York, there's like a daytime party called MoMA PS1. Have you heard of this? It's kind of like, so it's like for people who don't know, it's kind of like the MoMA, art museum. They've got another place in Queens somewhere, like Long Island City, and they turn it into this big daytime party essentially. So I'd been there all day. I was there when I was like 25 years old. And my friend and I somehow decided to go to this place called Junoon, which I think is a Michelin star Indian restaurant, after being out all day, which was quite ridiculous because you're not going to really appreciate it. But long story short, I turned up wearing shorts because I've been out in 85-degree weather, and they were like, you can't wear that. And so I had to go downstairs, and I just leaned in, and I borrowed waiters' trousers.
Wait, a waiter gave you a pants?
No, they took me downstairs and they had a bunch of like,
okay,
cleans,
amazing.
from the laundry, and they're like, "Hey, just take one of these." And I was like,
"That's amazing.
This is so stupid, but okay, I'm gonna do it just for the."
So we're gonna talk about the whole mystique about Michelin and
exactly.
It's a fascinating brand and everything.
It's a great, and I think we'll break down like other examples potentially of like, why that even exists in the first place. And then let's see if we get time, we'll talk about C5 versus D5 and how they've fared in the recent crash.
I can tell you right now, my gut's telling me, based on how much banter we got going, I don't think we're hitting that. But
all right, let's see. Yeah. All right, so should we kick off with
the meme of the week?
The meme of the week. That's on you, Trung. You got this.
So let's so for a lot of the listeners here, what I want to prep you with and viewers is so Bilal's talking about the Minion stuff. This is blown up all over the internet. So if you're not very online, what's happening basically, Bilal's going to talk about more, but I just want to show this clip. There's this viral TikTok of teenage dudes rolling up in like 12, 13, 14, 15, 20 people deep. They're all wearing suits to go watch the new Minions movie, The Rise of Gru. And like, here it is. How hilarious is this?
It's incredible. Wait, the handshake?
Yeah. So for the listeners, there's literally like 20 guys rolling up at escalators, all wearing suits, going to watch the Minions. So here's the meme. This is the meme that came out. It's here's the meme of the week. It's from Isaac Feldberg. It's a photo of the Succession crew. So the Logan Roy and his family all wearing suits, and it just says they roll up to like the counter, being like, 7 for the Rise of Gru. That's the joke. They're making fun of how Minions took over the internet. But we're going to talk about that later. We're talking about right now, actually.
Let's just kick off with that, because I think it's actually perfect NI territory. We often talk about edge of the internet stuff. Obviously, media, business, this is all of that wrapped in one. Yeah. So let's give your boy a shout out. Tommy Clark on Twitter. What is his handle? It's T Clark Media. Yeah, T Clark. He's a fellow Work Week a creator. So Work Week, the creator startup, a media company that I'm partnered working with. He did this incredible thread. Bilal's gonna break it down though, because there's a lot that touches on YouTube. Bilal's former professional career. Yeah, so I'll try to keep it high level. We'll link to this thread if you're interested in all the details. But the high level is it's been a massive hit, right? The movie is, I think it's $202 million. It said opening weekend, which is next level, right? Like, I don't know how that compares to other like Top Gun and stuff like that have been recent, but either way, it's a huge success. It broke it sets record for July 4th, so this is massive. That's wild. Okay, yeah, it's already had 8.3 billion views on TikTok, like the hashtag. So that's not even including all the people talking about the stuff that isn't tagged. This is literally just if you go on TikTok and search for the hashtag. So huge success. And we're kind of going to break down like step by step what happened. So the first thing that happened about a week ago, this channel on YouTube called Lyrical Lemonade, they dropped a tune which was Yeet featuring Minion song. And this is how old I am. I had to go Google who Yeet is, because I don't even know Yeet, to be fair. Dude, but I don't know it either. Can you play the track? Because it bangs. The only thing, it's gonna get flagged on YouTube. So, but people. Never mind. Okay. But yeah, there's a musician, young gentleman called Yeet, and the cool thing is the video is like featuring the Minions, so it's quite fun. Like the video is actually quite fun as well. So that kind of kicks off this thing. That then. But here, hold on, Bilal. I want to flag something. When Yeet's doing a song Minions, sounds like a corporate partnership, right? That doesn't sound like he did it on his own, right? Yes. Like, and the only thing I can remember that was similar, which sounds ridiculous. Do you remember the Rugrats movie when Blackstreet and Maya did a song with them? Dude, that was such a great song. I love that song. Yeah, so I remember that track. That's showing our age. But but obviously in 2022, where is music breaking? It used to be the radio. It used to be, honestly, YouTube. But right now, what's really dominating is TikTok, because people use those snippets, and that is kind of changing the way people create music nowadays. So that is what happened. It went on to TikTok, as any viral song does. And people started creating videos with that repeated part of the song. And there was one video in particular, I think you showed it earlier, like the screenshot of the videos of the guys going in their suits. And And like your boy Tommy Clark explains, like there's two viral elements that make this song really kind of slap for TikTok. One analysis. Is the pattern interrupt of the sound. So I know you and Jack talk a lot about this in the feed, right? Especially Jack when he does Visualize Value. He talks about, you're having millions of impressions a day, people scrolling through their feed. How do you stand out in the feed? And similarly, on TikTok, that is the stuff that really kind of goes viral a lot of the time. It's this sound that kind of makes, even if someone's pointing at the screen and talking about stock prices going down, they're often using like video music as well. And that
something I'll give an example. Yeah. Have you ever been driving your car and listened to the radio and you heard an ad that starts with a honk?
Yeah.
Dude, it is the sketchiest move when you hear, but it grabs your attention, right? When you're driving, your attention is so fractured, but the one thing that you will always get your attention is the honking of a car, right? And that's why if you watch it, the listeners and viewers here, if you're driving this summer, you might hear a lot of
we got
ads.
Jack coming in, by the way. Yeah. Jack's connecting.
Oh, Jack's here.
Here we go. You only missed a few minutes, mate.
Let's catch Jack up here super quickly. So Jack, are you familiar with what's going on with the Minions? Viral sensation.
Only just seen the memes popping up everywhere.
Yeah, like insane, right?
Mr. Beast, I think I saw.
Yeah, Mr. Beast hit on it. So I'll bring you up to speed to where Bilal's taken us. So for the record, the Minions Rise of Gru has set a July 4th box office record already. So this is a massive hit. And the meme you're seeing is of young teens, mostly males, showing up in large groups, primarily dressed in suits, and they're calling it gentle minions. Instead of gentlemen, gentle minions.
Love this.
And that was a hashtag that was started on TikTok, hit up Twitter. Bilal is rereading a thread by Tommy Clark, a work week creator, and Tommy said that the song, which is the underpinning for the entire meme, began on YouTube by a singer named Yeats. And it
was on a channel called Lyrical Lemonade. It wasn't on like the official channel of like, let's say, Minions.
Oh, Lyrical Lemonade's big too, though. It's like so Bilal being Mr. YouTube, he sniffed it out. He's like, this smells like a corporate collab. like the Minions character and the voices they make, like the little squeaky voice is being done on top of a like fairly popular artist. Is like, this is not some random dude just picking this up, right? It's like,
yeah, Jack, I was saying it's like Blackstreet and Maya doing the Rugrats movie in the 2000s, if you remember that. Classic tune. But yeah, and I will say, and we'll summarize these kind of parts at the end, but Lyrical Lemonade's video on it does say this channel got money or free things to post, right? Which is there's nothing like wrong with that. And I actually like that there's a disclosure there. So yeah, we can kind of come back to that. So that's kind of where we're at, Jack. These dudes are start making these videos. It goes on to TikTok. That original video that Jack kind of shared on the screen. Oh, sorry, Trung shared on screen earlier already has like 35 million views of these guys. And then House of Highlights takes it and posts it there. And for people who don't know, House of Highlights is one of the biggest kind of like sports like Instagram and TikTok accounts. And they reposted it. And at that moment, you kind of solidify the viral nature of this, right? Because all the other viral accounts follow this stuff, follow those big accounts, and it just kind of spreads from there. And then just to mention a few other things that kept helping it spread, you mentioned Mr. Beast. He rented out a theater, and that video on its own got 6 million views. And then people, there's these stunt guys on YouTube and TikTok, right? So they start saying, okay, we're going to one up these people. We're going to do something crazy and record it. So one group snuck 200 pounds of bananas into the theater, which is kind of related to the whole meme here. Lots of theaters got cops and fire departments called on them. So it's kind of a crazy kind of thing happening. One theater in the UK banned people from showing up in suits. That's so good.
Well, so I actually listened. My initial instinct was, wow, like theaters already hurting so hard because of COVID. These guys don't want money. But then I listened to the interview, and the guy was like, yeah, so these kids show up, and it's a family event, right? Parents are bringing their 4 or 5-year-olds. Like, we're talking about Jack had to do something with his kid this morning. I was talking about earlier traveling with my kid. Well, Jack, you missed it. I was telling Bilal, my wife got jacked in Barcelona, but like we were joking about how I am the biggest target possible in Europe to get jacked. An Asian dude with a kid with his attention fractured, like looking at the kid pushing a stroller.
Well, your wife got pickpocketed, did she?
No, well, we left the bag on a stroller. The whole thing got sniped. But not a huge deal. You'll hear about it later when you listen to the podcast. But funny thing, back to these kids in the theater. The guy goes, "Yeah, these kids were just so rowdy that we had to like they stopped doing online sales of tickets because they're being bought in bulk and showing up like 40 deep. So the guy at the UK theater said, if you want to come to watch Minions, you have to buy the ticket at the box office so I can vet you." Anyway, sorry, man.
Trung, you just mentioned something which is worth bringing up because we're talking about what makes a viral sensation, especially with young people. Like if, I'm sound like the old guy talking about this now, but I kind of am in this case. So you mentioned getting banned. I'm just trying to think to my childhood, and Jack, you might remember this, but there was a song in the UK by a guy called Lethal Bizzle, who actually went to school right near me. He's kind of a really famous guy now. And the original song was called Power. And it was a song that literally, when it came on in a rave, right? Like if you're at a university party, literally the whole dance floor goes crazy. Like people start mosh pitting, pushing each other, going crazy, just having a good time. But they had to ban the song at parties for several years, I think it was. And anytime you ban something, it makes people want to listen to it more. Effect,
right?
Exactly.
It's like Barbra Streisand, stop taking pictures of my house. Everyone's going to
take the house. Exactly. Yeah. So, and there's another 50 examples of that. But again, you're only adding fuel to the fire here in this kind of viral sensation. So that's kind of what happens. Now there is a slight minor thing to mention, which is the Minions cult. So a lot of people start changing their PFPs, their pictures, profile pictures, into this whole thing. And so anyway, that could be a whole hour episode on that, and that will probably be for another podcast.
Unbelievable though, right? Like, let's just establish this. Over the course of 4 days, took over the internet.
It's crazy. And essentially, and the way your boy writes about it, he basically says the movie has an army of millions of people, of engaged accounts promoting the movie across all platforms.
Crazy.
So that's kind of the summary of what happened.
But this is the key, right? Because he also mentions it, and I wrote about it a couple of weeks ago for my newsletter. You guys remember Morbius, right? Morbius was like this from the Spider-Man universe. The vampire villain from the Spider-Man universe also had similar meme vibe, but people they're being made fun of. It was like the movie was so bad that people were making fun of it, but it didn't get like the same lift where he actually translated into sales, right?
Then there's like, what's that movie that was a remake of that old film that was so bad, and it was a film.
Room?
The Room, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the film that they made later?
No, The Room. The Disaster Artist is the movie that was made by what's his name? You guys know which actor I'm talking about.
But it was so bad that it became a cult classic, right?
Yeah. But Morbius thought it was that, right? And Morbius,
but it was just shit.
Basically got memed into a second release, right? People, Sony was like, "Oh my god, people are loving the internet energy of this. Let's re-release it." They re-released it, and I think it ended up making $85 a theater. So
that's insane.
It completely bombed on the re-release. But here's where it gets so funny. There's a petition right now to do a third release of Morbius. It's got like 50,000 signatures. But I think the reason we're bringing all this up is, well, here, let's throw something at Jack, because I think Jack's perspective here would be much needed. So, Jack, we would talk about memes as like the running theme of non-investment advice. But here's a key that I don't know if we really teased out. Turning memes into money, that's a very different thing, right? A lot of people can go meme and go viral, but actually turning that into a business, like, I don't know, visualize value, it's a very different thing, right? Could you tease that out?
Yeah, I don't know how the Minions thing. I don't know enough about the story or the franchise to figure out whether it was like something that was already bubbling up, because those characters have been around for 10 years now or something, right? This like is it like a spin-off, or isn't it Despicable Me where they appeared at first? So this is like their own thing. So they've become like, they were like a meme nested within this film, and then they were big enough to warrant their own thing. I'm assuming, right? I'm asking you the question. Is the film correct. About the Minions? Yeah. So I think that in itself is like, I don't know. There's like maybe the like irony component of their like people lining up and wearing suits and like going nuts for this stuff is what's like the flywheel effect happening here. But the thing already exists to monetize it before the meme begins, right? I think that's the difference. Is like something
the meme is just pushing it forward, like putting fuel on the fire.
Yeah. Like in the case of somebody who's like really good at making things that generate attention, as we like share a bunch of people who are amazing at that, but they don't have the infrastructure in place to like capture the 1% or 2% of the people like the Minions meme that's going around right now. What as a percentage of people are like seeing that and buying a cinema ticket? I'm certainly not. So it's going to be a tiny percentage, but just the pure scale of it is so obscene that it is going to, and it has translated, like you said, Trung, to more sales and basically the network effect, flywheel effect, power law thing, where it's just like they keep winning harder and harder and harder and harder because of the cultural phenomenon that's going on here as well. I don't know if you remember like, was it like planking or something? Where there was like a few like viral.
We're
things.
really aging ourselves.
Yeah, we're really.
What's the Rugrats reference and the planking reference?
I know you're talking about where people would just post up on a random car or whatever.
Yeah, like just lay flat on stuff, and that was like this is like before platforms like TikTok and stuff, where it's like
ice bucket challenge, like and those as well.
Yeah, that's another good.
Ice bucket
example.
raised a ton of money. That was genius. That was a genius viral challenge.
There hasn't been that many. Like I remember in the agency days, like we always pitch these like cringe ass flash mob things. You know, I can't remember where that came from originally, but
just
people
turn up in Union Square and everyone's going to do a big dance. Yeah.
Yeah, some coordinated
Jack,
thing.
One thing you said that reminded me, like when we did our Creator Lab episode together ages ago, the second one, which was a live one, which I know some people who listen to this might have even listened to that one. That whole episode was about how to actually monetize an audience, right? Because that was the first one was about how you built visualized value. The second one was how you actually make money from it. And that the kind of summary was you need to have something to sell, right? Like it sounds obvious, but a lot of people just go and like build this big audience, and they're like, well, they're kind of building it for the sake of building it, or they're deciding later how they're going to make money, which is cool too. But, for you have, 500,000 followers on different channels, and a few percentage of them are going to land on visualizevalue.com and buy the other deeper stuff that you sell. And similar to this, there's hundreds of millions of impressions or billions of impressions, and that's going to translate into 1 or 2% of people actually turning up and buying a ticket. So that's kind of I think quite an important thing to mention here, like the way you framed it around like you already had something to sell in the first place. This is just helping versus just something going viral but there was no real reason for it in the first place.
Yeah. And the other thing, like the dynamic of all the people pushing it now, like they are trying to coast off that meat. Like even, the people who are, I don't know, have a Patreon or have like their own thing, like they still want to tap into the energy of this meme. They're not going to benefit directly from it. Like they're not selling Minions merch or tickets, but that's again, the flywheel effect is like, if I can basically this like drafting off the clout of this meme, like I have to get involved in this thing. It's very similar to like, the like current thing meme on Twitter where it's like, I need to talk about this and show X that I'm,
if you're getting Mr. Beast, you've hit the top, right? Like if you're getting so if Elon posts your meme or if Mr. Beast makes a piece of content out of your meme, that's the peak. You've hit the peak of it, right?
And then there's just all these cascading effects from that where like the people who create content at the tier below that and at the tier below that and then the tier below that are all trying to like draft off of that.
They're following
trend.
up. Yeah.
And that's what TikTok is amazing too, is because of that like reaction dynamic and the song. Like there's so many little nuances in that platform that's like, there's layers of the content that like extend the virality of it. Like the song goes
remixing, right? Everybody remixes the song. Completely. The song gets used, like Bilal said, 8 billion. The Minions hashtag's been seen 8 billion times.
Yeah. And I think it was like over 100,000 like uses of the music. And then actually, Jack, as you entered the room, I was just saying it. So I'll just finish that last element of like what made the song like perfect for TikTok. The first one was, it's like a pattern interrupt. Like when you hear it, it's very much like you're like, what the hell is that? And the way he described it is, what the fuck did I just hear? Minions on a Yeet track. You're like, it's like Blackstreet and Rugrats. Like, why is Tommy and Phil and Lil or whatever their names are talking right now? And then the second part, I'm really aging myself. And then the second part is catchy and repetitive enough to get stuck in your head. Like, my money don't jiggle, jiggle, it folds, which you've seen probably if you've been on TikTok. That's the chicken shop date girl with, I forgot his name, Louis, whatever his name is. So that's a like super, super viral thing as well. So yeah, those were the two elements of it. So just to bring us all the way back, to summarize, the question we kind of have open, I want to pass it over to you guys, is, was this organic or was this orchestrated? Was it a bit of both? And I'm just curious to get your take on that.
Wait, Bilal, tell me if I'm correct here. The thread suggests it was 100% manufactured.
That's what I got from it, but the way he described it, he put in brackets like maybe partnered with influencers to spark hype.
The following things though, Lyrical Lemonade, that they said it. Okay, that was the song. So to the TikTok song, you mentioned the two parts that made it viral and catchy. Well, let's establish something. TikTok is the most important thing in the music industry today. It is the number one hit maker for songs because of, and it's changing. It's the same way that Spotify changed song lengths from like 4 minutes to 3 minutes, because you get paid per stream for a song. So you make shorter songs, right? What are the incentives? We always talk about this. TikTok, what are the video lengths? 15, 30, 60 seconds, right? So TikTok songs, there's a formula for what makes a good TikTok song, right? It's like, gets right into the hook, has a catchy hook. You're not dicking around because you don't have time, right? And is it something that can catch somebody within the 5 seconds versus maybe even Spotify, you have 30, 40 seconds. So TikTok has become such a massive engine for music that there are already agencies, and even the record labels, right? They're going out creating TikTok-specific songs. I wrote an article about this for Bloomberg. A lot of the artists, really famous artists like Halsey, are complaining that like labels are withholding their music till they blow up on TikTok. Like, that's how important TikTok has
That's
become,
crazy.
Right?
And Trung, just to add to that, there's so many songs I hear where I'm like, oh, I've only heard that on TikTok. Even like, honestly, the Jack Harlow song, which was #1, right? First Class, which is like a remake of, what was it, Gwen Stefani or whatever? I forgot. Fergie. Sorry, I'm.
That song's incredible, by the way.
Yeah, incredible. But like, even that, like, I knew the hook, and then I heard it outside somewhere on the radio or in the car, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the whole song. I didn't even hear the whole song. The entire song. I mean? And then I've seen videos outside where people just play the first viral part, which is 10 seconds, and then everyone starts singing the rest of it, and then it's the full video, the full song.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk about that, right? Like, to answer your question, is this manufactured? That part, Yeats with Minions, manufactured, right? The House of Highlights that you brought up was also another piece.
That's an interesting part. Is that like just the amplification partner, basically? Like, if you think of, and another way I was going to say it, Jack, you mentioned this, you go into these rooms, right, in your advertising days, and I did this too. I'd go in a room and they'd say, hey, you guys are YouTube, how do we go viral? That was literally the question they always ask. And the answer was always like 99.9% don't just go viral, because true viral is like, oh, you made something and it just kept spreading.
Yeah, I'm talking about, I knew the answer, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Exactly. Yeah. And like,
you'd be Mr. Beast.
Trung, you're probably one of the best people in our space at going viral, right? Like, so you definitely
that's very specific though. That's Twitter. But like,
Twitter.
Dude, I want to ask you about it though. I know you threw us the question. Is this, so we're established, all right? Lyrical Lemonade even acknowledged this was maybe sponsored, and the song itself was almost certainly manufactured. So Bilal, you talked about sitting in these rooms. Jack, you've sat in these rooms. So Bilal, let's answer. When people were hitting you with this, what was the craziest viral concoction that you saw at YouTube?
Honestly, I'm trying to remember because it feels so long ago, but most of them were like, these were rooms with brands. So it wasn't necessarily the same as, content creators are really the best at going viral. So like Mr. Beast and those sort of people, they're creating real viral things where they think how do I recreate Charlie's Chocolate Factory and spend $1 million or $5 million or whatever it was? And that is truly viral, right? But with brands, it's not the same because brands aren't as cool as Mr. Beast, right? Like creating stuff like that. And people know because they see the brand. So I'm just thinking, honestly, that I can't really think of one orchestrated campaign like this. I can just think of like landing pages, like back in the day when you could do custom YouTube channels, they would turn, like they would do all this creative stuff. Like when you go on it, you don't realize that it's actually just a custom page, and then the screen's getting sucked in, and it's like a movie, and you're like flying through it and all this stuff. So they're using the elements of the page in a really creative, fun way. Then there was some like beer brands that did kind of stuff like that as well. So that I can't remember honestly, like the one that really stands out. But I do know for the movies, one of my best friends was the kind of like the guy who did the research for that vertical for media and entertainment, it's called. And he basically did a whole deck. I remember him explaining it to me, like how all the movie studios were spending. They all seed that launch on YouTube. Because if you think like the trailer, where's the trailer scene?
Yeah.
Especially 5 years ago, it was on YouTube, right? Like, and you know, obviously social media too, but they would test different types of trailers on there and like run it as ads and see what the retention was like, where people dropped off, like on a small scale. Instead of doing like a focus group or something, they would just run it as an ad.
That's right? Fascinating.
Yeah.
So what was the name of this is in the early 2010s. It's probably stayed the same.
This is probably like it's probably like 14, 15, 20.
What was the name of the group?
Well, this is at Google. So I'm saying like the guy who was doing that was in the Google's media and entertainment team. So we would have like verticals. And so mine was like e-commerce and fashion and stuff like that. And his was media and entertainment.
That's
so that would be all the streamers, Spotify. So anyone who's streaming and selling subscriptions, but also the big movie studios. And so if you think about where they spend their money, because it's a sales team, they're spending on awareness, right? And it's very different to me, what I was doing originally, which was, we're going to sell a pair of shoes in store or online, and we can see every part of the funnel. On the movie side, you're literally doing tests, like you're running YouTube ads in a certain region, and then the next weekend seeing how many people turned up to the movies.
That's amazing.
Cinema or whatever.
Dude, movie marketing, especially trailers, is absolutely fascinating. I would love to get an expert on it because I think I saw some research about the length of movies trailers and how much of a movie's plot it gives away. And like, I think over time, it's just more and more of the plot is just given away. Have you ever seen a movie trailer and you're like, I'm pretty sure they just gave away the entire movie?
Or that was the highlights of the movie, like comedy.
In 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you're like, I'm pretty sure you guys just gave away like the main twist of the movie and like the ending, right? But like, there's obviously a massive science behind trailers, like you talked about, right? It's like they're micro testing now where the drop off is. They probably have 30 different cuts, and they'll like in film studios will film certain parts only for the trailer. They don't even show up in the movie, right?
Well, it's like, almost like if you think of the best, like what I'm seeing is the best content creators like Mr. Beast and others are learning from what those guys did, and they're just remixing it. So, like you said, when we talked about Andrew Schultz and Rogan and stuff last week. Those guys literally make 2-3 hour podcasts and they say like, what's going to be a clip? Like they're writing. I mean, we kind of do it sometimes on here, but we don't take it as seriously. Like they're literally saying, we're going to talk about this topic because it's topical. And that was a funny 1 minute. And that's going to be the top of funnel for our podcast episode. You know, so that is, I feel like the idea is still being used. It's just now as a content creator, you need to do it at 10x velocity. So you need to make so many more pieces of content versus a movie makes one trailer, right? It's very different.
Well, it's interesting. My last point about the movie marketing, because since I love that you brought up that you knew the guy working on that team, is so you have to remember when you're talking about a budget for a movie. So let's say a budget for a Christopher Nolan movie is 150 mil. The rule of thumb is the marketing budget is how much the movie budget is. So if the Christopher Nolan movie is 150 mil, the marketing budget will be 150 mil, right? So to break even, you need to 2x the movie budget, which is why when you see these box office numbers come out and people will say like Morbius, they said flopped. So it made internationally, it's done about 200 million against a 170 budget. You're like, why is that a flop? It's because you got to factor in the double for the marketing, right? Yeah. And I think to be considered a success, it's going to be 4 or 5 times the budget just to cover all these random costs. But dude, I love the rabbit hole we went down on this.
Yeah, this is fun. I didn't realize when I read the thread how much it was related to like stuff we
your
talk
job,
about.
Bro.
But yeah, what you're gonna ask Jack something?
No, well, I want to ask. Well, I actually wanted to finish it. So Bilal, I flipped the question right back to you. The music's planted. The music song is probably done. The YouTube part was planted. Probably House of Highlights. The rest is organic, right? It's like probably a lot of it.
My answer to the question is, was it organic or not? Like, I think all the best ones are a little bit of both, which is kind of an annoying answer. But you normally need the strategy and the paid budget to seed a lot of that kind of fire. And then if it works well, 10X is from there. So I think obviously like the song seems orchestrated, obviously, and that's a really smart move that they've really thought about that. And then all these, I think the creative stuff of the dudes turning up in suits, that's like seems very organic.
I need to know how that happened because, well, two things. That will never happen again with the same energy because it's the first time, right? Something like this happened. And here's the other part. It is the perfect internet to real life meme if you're a movie theater. What more could you possibly want than the real life action of the meme is 50 people showing up in suits to your theater?
Yeah, crazy.
Right? Like what if the meme for Minions was people planking? So you have people planking outside theaters but not buying tickets. This was the perfect follow through for the meme. So that will never happen again. I don't think you'll be able to replicate this exact.
And also, Trung, isn't it like when you're looking forward, even from when you're writing stuff, right? But if you said, Twitter is very specific. But if you're in that room and you're Minions team and you're saying, how do we get people to do this thing? The ideas that people come up with always sound stupid, right? Yeah. And 9 times out of 10 they are. And it's that one that kind of just sticks and you don't realize that, humans take over and they create new things out of it.
Well, to Jack's point though, like this existing IP, first of all, like Jack said, already existed from Despicable Me, right? It's a spin-off IP, but it's also perfect. It's just, what are Minions? There's thousands of these little like goofy little critters, right? It was freaking, man, I think the more I think about this, I think it was completely cooked up, man. It's just too genius.
Yeah.
To your point, it had to, I think actually you're right. It's 50-50. It's like, you got to get the fire, but it was the fire execution, the Tinder, if you will, perfect. You will not have better Tinder than what they created.
Definitely. Jack, any closing thoughts before we move on to Michelin star stuff or Michelin guide?
One thought is they might have planted 50 seeds, right? And one took, the only one you talk about is the one that worked. So I think people just at that scale, point. Marketers should just think about this way differently going forward. It's like you cannot anticipate the behavior of the crowd. You have instincts and maybe some data and things to go off, but nobody could, like you said, Bilal, like draw a timeline of like, we're going to commission this song. And then in 3 weeks, there's going to be like a bunch of kids walking into cinemas in tuxedos. Nobody wrote that down, right? That didn't.
And normally the ones who tried to make that, they tried to do that. Oh, kids are going to do this thing. That never happens. And it always
the absolute, it just completely falls flat on his face. And like, that's why, influencer marketing was a buzzword, even like back when I started my advertising career, but it's so, I don't know, it's so much more nuanced now where like you have to give full creative control to that person. Otherwise that's you don't get the effects. And I think that's like, people are slowly moving towards that, where it's just like, there's almost no creative brief where it's just like, hey, do something for Minions. That's it, right? Do what you think is going to be like entertaining to the people that are interested in what you make. And the people who've given up control there, like you can't imagine 10 years ago, someone like a movie executive signing off on some of the stuff that's been done
that's now. That's a great point. Well, the one you just mentioned, that the best example that Trung, you asked me a question, like one of the best viral things that I remember was Casey Neistat when he did the Nike thing. Do you remember the original Nike video where I think the headline was like, Nike gave me X million dollars to make them a commercial, and instead I decided to travel the world and spend it all instead. And that was the content. Yeah. And that was perfect. That was so brilliant. And it was just so like, you'd watch it and you're like, oh, okay, Nike's all over it. Like you mentioned in the beginning, but then after that you don't mention anything, but then the feeling of the guys traveling and doing all that stuff is exactly what Nike wants. So it was that's probably the one that actually stands out now that I think of it.
That's a great one. That is an absolutely legendary one.
All right, boys, should we move on to the next one? Because I feel like we could talk about this all day, but anything else, Trung? It looks like you got a thought there.
No, was there anything else on this thread?
Yeah, I guess the summary was, we think, the question was it orchestrated or organic? And yeah, I'm curious to hear what people think as well. So you can comment in the comments below. Let us know what you think. And if there's any missing pieces we didn't think about, let us know there as well. All right, Trung, you went to your first Michelin-starred restaurant. You wore your best pants, your best shorts.
Jack missed it, but your boy Trung. So, well, you know what? Let's turn this into a little travel segment. So 3 weeks in Spain and Portugal. Spain is
the best.
Let's pretend it's a Michelin restaurant. So we're gonna do a 27-course meal about Michelin guide. So Spain, exceptional. So I've been to France, I've been to Italy, I've been to Switzerland, UK. I think Spain's my favorite. I think it's the heat. I love the heat, right? Let me get your guys' general thoughts on Spain before we get into the Michelin restaurant.
Spent loads of time in Spain as a kid. Like,
it's like the number one place Brits go, no?
I love it, mate. There's loads of Irish pubs in Spain, mate. So we love it.
Fish finger sandwiches for lunch. Yeah, our boy Tom Osmond just moved.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Well, let's just do this. Let's narrow the scope of it. So the heat's obviously amazing. What are we eating in Spain? What are you guys eating when you go to Spain?
I've only taken one trip to Spain during my
where you had money?
The Renaissance in my life. Yeah. I went up to some design conference in Barcelona. I mean, jamón every day, obviously. The Iberico. We're on the Iberico ham every day. What else?
Olives.
Hey, the tapas. You got to just do this.
It sounds obvious, but the tapas is just really good. You just have that like 4 times a day.
That patatas omelet is just... Let me tell you about the patatas omelet. I saw a backpacker roll up into a restaurant. It's the cheapest item on the menu, but you're talking carbs and protein. That's the best bang for the buck you get, right? So this backpacker rolls in, has a quarter of the patatas bravas, and takes the rest to go. And I'm like, this dude just spent $4 for a day's meal, and I know this because this is what I used to do. And I'm like, this is the perfect patatas bravas day-long food.
That's the tortilla thing, yeah? Like omelet.
Yeah, that's like potatoes. The omelet with the potatoes inside.
Yeah, it's a killer. But yeah, I would say the same, man. I mean, I've been a few times as well, and it's hard to beat. It's just like the vibe, the people just like they legit take naps at 4 p.m. a lot of the time, and then they go out at like 2 a.m. in the morning. They have dinner at 12 p.m.
Well, you know the time zone controversy with Spain, right?
No, what's that?
So Spain is on, I believe it's on Germany's time zone. So if you actually look at the map, it should actually be closer to London, UK. And the reason that is because in World War II, the Spanish government wanted to show their commitment and like relationship. They're like, hey, we're supporting the Nazi regime. So they went.
You look like extra fun fact fan, professor fan with the blackboard behind you today.
Yeah, bro, I can go nuts on it. Google that right now.
That is mental.
Yeah, dude. So Spain is an hour ahead. It's supposed to be on London time if you look at the map. So they're an hour ahead. So everything Bilal just said, why they take siestas or dinners are late. So very famous for having late dinners, right? So I'm out here with my wife and kid. I'm on vacation. I'm watching Spanish workers getting gassed at 10 p.m., having dinner at 10 p.m. I'm like, bro, how are you going to wake up and be productive tomorrow?
They're not, bro.
It's because you're on the road.
That's absolutely right.
So that's the running joke. So sorry to our Spanish listeners, if you didn't know, you're in the wrong time zone. And this is part of the reason why you guys might not be as productive. So like the EU has been pushing for Spain to go back to like the proper time zone. And it's so, I think the Spanish government wants to make it happen too. It's just like, listen, a lot of things, we see what happens with daylight savings, right? It destroys everything. And I don't know how much they want to go back to the history of why they're on the wrong time.
That's wild. I did not know that.
Maybe nobody wants to talk about it, but I think that's a really, listen, this is people. If you're listening, you're like, Trung, can we talk about the Michelin stars? Like, listen, this is all in the lead up to the Michelin stars,
it's the preamble.
because I did a lot of fun fact fan Wikipediaing when I was in Spain. So my knowledge is I got a lot of things to talk about here.
Which cities did you go to, Trung?
I went to Seville. Start off Portugal, Lisbon. Then went to Seville, Madrid, San Sebastian in the Basque region, which is where the Michelin restaurant. As many of you on this call may know, the Basque region is considered one of the number one food capitals for the Michelin community. Yeah,
I think it's got more Michelin star restaurants than anywhere else. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this. All preamble listeners, don't worry. This is all foreplay. I'm going to get to the good stuff. If I were to ask you, where are the most 3-star Michelin restaurants in the world? Guess.
Paris?
No.
London?
What country?
Birmingham, mate. No, I'm not sure.
What country? I'm going to say...
I thought Spain.
England.
Japan.
Oh,
because you know what's the Michelin star about? So let me read through. Let's get into it. So let me preamble. Let me move from the preamble to a bit of the meat and bones here. So, what is the Michelin Guide, right? So everybody on this call, but it's very famous how it started. So Michelin, the tire company, started in 1889 in France, Clermont-Ferrand, France. It's founded by the Michelin brothers. In 1900, in France, when there are only 3,500 cars on the road, so think this is how far back we are, they created a guide to get people to drive around, right? It's one of the greatest side hustles ever for a company. You create a guide to get people to drive around so they buy tires, right? It's genius. So the guide didn't add restaurants until 1926. And then in 1937, it was completely devoted to food. So we're talking almost 100 years now where it's devoted to food. It had gone from locations for people to drive to food. And this, at the end of the day, it was all meant to sell tires. And the Michelin Guide, if you're talking about revenue, it's not separated within Michelin's financials, but I read a 2011 Financial Times report that said that Michelin was losing $30 million a year on the guide, losing. So I can only imagine that their revenue is, if they're losing 30, just call it double. Maybe they're losing half. So I'm talking, the revenue is probably 45, 50 mil in 2011. And that's just from selling the guides. Well, two parts actually. Selling the guides, they sell hundreds of thousands of years of the physical guides. And they also, more sketchily in recent years, to launch new guide, they went to South Korea. You know who paid them to launch in South Korea? It's not going to surprise you. Who paid them?
The government.
Exactly. The tourism board for South Korea, right? It makes sense. Because, I think my trip to this restaurant, Mugaritz, which is 14 in the world right now, no big deal, is a perfect example of why. It's I actually would never have gone. My wife wanted to go. So we never would have gone to this restaurant in this region of Spain if it wasn't in the Michelin Guide, right? So you understand why these countries would pay up the tourism board. So the figure back then for South Korea, which is about 5 or 6 years ago, I think, they paid about $1 million to get listed. And again, this is not to have people rank your restaurant. This is just for a guide for your country to show up. Canada, for example, is only getting a guide this fall. I just found out now that we're getting a Michelin Guide in the fall. So never had one. So obviously tourism is a big thing. So I think the revenue mix is probably some type of digital online guide, the physical guide, and maybe some of these listing fees or the right to use the name or have people go to your country. But this is where it gets interesting. Are you guys familiar with the inspectors? What the inspectors are up to?
What, when they turn up and do
assign the stars?
Yeah, exactly. Do you guys know anything about the inspectors?
Not really.
Not really, no.
So the term, the inspectors, no one knows who they are. They're called, they're so secretive that they've been called the CIA with good food. It's this is their job. So one inspector, and this was told just the way that we know about the inspectors is the Michelin has anonymously allowed some inspectors to be interviewed, and also some former inspectors wrote tell-alls when they left and we hate Michelin. So if you're an inspector, it sounds like a good job. You're eating at 2 restaurants a day, 5 days a week. So you're on the road 250 days a year. It sounds great. It's a lonely job, man. It's you think about that. You're like a traveling salesman, right? And
Sounds awful.
And you're an extremely powerful individual because Michelin, one of these really famous Michelin star chefs, gave a shorthand for how much money an extra star gives you. So 1 star, he said, adds 30% to your revenue. 2 stars, 50%. 3 stars, 100%. So as just a rule of thumb. It's like
that's a Portnoy pizza review.
Yeah. That's just like a rule of thumb, right? So going back to their financials, let's say they're making 50 mil a year from the guides and some of these like country listings. Think about how expensive it is to have these inspectors eating, because the inspectors pay for their own meals because the restaurants have no idea who these inspectors are. So the human cost of paying for these meals, and they don't even say how many. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of inspectors. So that's where all the costs are coming from. So let me throw a question for you guys. Not knowing the full financials, but from your gut instinct from the brand, how worth it is it to lose money on Michelin?
Massive amount. I think just from name recognition, like I worked on Michelin as a client at an agency I worked at, and like just in contact with that brand, so many people know the name Michelin and they think the tires are the side project.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, oh, Michelin, isn't that the restaurant thing? It's like, no. It's a tire company. They make tires. And in the same way, like I've talked about this before, the like name recognition, when you walk into a place and you have to make a decision, you're going to go with the name that you know. And I think like the branding, like the magnitude of the effect of that branding exercise is like, it's probably so big that they have anecdotal and qualitative data to suggest that like stopping that would be catastrophic, right? That I would imagine that is still credited with like the relevance of the brand over time.
Well, what other tire company do you know? Goodyear, right? And it's because they have the blimp everywhere. It's like,
right.
Think about, I think you're 100% like, well, Bilal, when you hear Michelin, like, I mean, what are you thinking?
For ages, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that they were the same company. It's kind of like the other example people talk about is Guinness Book of World Records. Was based on Guinness, alcohol brand.
Example.
And I was going to ask you guys if there's any others, but that is like a whole category of, content marketing, whatever you want to call it, right? That becomes its own business essentially, and its own thing that people like. So to answer your question directly, for most of my adult life, I didn't even think the Michelin star guide for restaurants had anything to do with tire company. It didn't even. It's such an incredible. It's the Oscars example of food, right? It's like. Yeah.
One of the chefs put it like this: chefs are so competitive but they didn't have an avenue, right, to like rank themselves against each other. But then Michelin starts ranking, and I mean, there's competitors, right? There's James Beard, there's Zaidi, but like Michelin is the top.
Yeah, it's like a household name too, right? Like even if you like, you just know the Michelin star system, like 9 out of 10 people I'm not going to say in the world, that's outrageous, but you stop at 9 people on the street, most of them are going to know what Michelin is, outside my house at least.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
well, let's say upper middle class, right? Middle class.
I don't know though. I think it transcends that, because I think people use that meme of like, oh, Michelin, like.
Well, how many stars?
Yeah, I think people like, before I ever ate in a restaurant that wasn't a McDonald's, I knew what Michelin was, right?
That's what I was going to say. It's an aspirational thing too.
Like the meme you use to be like, oh, this is like a Michelin star restaurant. You would say that even if, or that like meme is
you don't even know what it
your
means.
Consciousness, right?
And so much so, Jack, even there's a lot of restaurants that have like Michelin something in the window. And when you look at the sign closely, it doesn't even say we've got 2 Michelin stars. It says
like recognized by.
No, it's like Michelin. It's like in the directory or something.
Yeah, we're in the guide. Literally, we're in the guide.
But that's enough for someone to read it and be like, oh, Michelin. There's this positive association with it.
Sorry, Bilal. I thought you finished.
No, I was. Go.
All right. I was going to say the other thing that popped up is the American Express credit card slip.
Yeah,
that's another client I had before, where like they did something similar, but not quite the same, where they would get high-end merchants to accept AMEX. Because then you have this like mimetic desire component to this thing, where it's like they then become the network effect for using the cards. So it's like, Manhattan steakhouses, we take AMEX, and then the little credit card slip is AMEX, and AMEX became this aspirational
premium thing.
Yeah, it became this aspirational credit card that, I want to and obviously the concierge negotiates deals with all of these like brands, and they're still doing stuff like that now. You have Chase Sapphire and,
they bought
other
Resy,
brands
no?
chasing them.
Didn't they buy Resy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
AMEX?
They
bought Resy. I actually had dinner with the founder of Resy one time, and I was like, why the hell did they buy you? At first, it doesn't make complete
Customer
sense.
acquisition, media, baby.
It's media, and it's the brand, because the Resy, if you think, for people who don't know what Resy is, if you live in another country, it was like Open Table, but they originally started with just the nicer restaurants that you couldn't get on Open Table. So Open Table became this like mass market of, oh, you want a reservation at the random restaurant around the corner, Olive Garden or whatever. And then they went and convinced like the higher end restaurants, or like the really popular ones in New York, especially, you could never make a reservation. You had to go put your name down. Right. And you just put your name down, you go around the corner for an hour and come back, sort of thing. And the way they did it is they just basically made the fees much cheaper. And the design of the app, even though I hate the UI of the app, but it looks slightly better. Like the branding of it looks slightly better, but like the zoom of the map I don't know how it still exists in that way. But yeah, so that is another kind of example of how like.
Well, Bilal, Zagat, Google used to own Zagat, right?
They bought Zagat, yeah. One of my other best friends worked in that team as they got acquired.
Well, can you talk through that? That is like a Michelin competitor, essentially, like brand.
And so yes, for Zagat, for people who don't know, is because I didn't really know it too much because I'm from the UK and it wasn't as popular. But there was like a 30-point like a review system instead of like 5 stars. It was people would rate it. But I think they also rated it or something themselves, right? So they gave reviews with that 30-point guide. Eventually, once it came into Google bought it and integrated it into Google Maps. And then they ended up kind of condensing it down to like a 5-star thing anyway. But the reason they bought them, because I remember when they bought them, everyone was like, why are they buying Zagat? Why don't they just do a deal with them to get access to the data? You don't need to buy the whole company. And the answer I kind of got was, well, they were cheap enough for them just to buy the whole company instead. And it's basically content for them. And it was worthwhile.
Well, it's like Yelp, right? It's like Yelpish.
Exactly like that.
Well, dude, Bilal, sorry, Jack, I didn't mean to cut you. Super quick comment on Bilal's thought was, Bilal, when you said that the Michelin signs on the doors, the other thing I'd add is this, is if you trained under a Michelin chef, you can open a restaurant and say, trained under a Michelin chef. And like to Jack's point, the mimesis of that, like I've literally heard somebody been like in BC, British Columbia, trained under a Michelin chef. I'm like, oh, wow. You know, like you
it's the credential.
Like, yeah.
Harvard
and it kind of makes sense because there is yeah, exactly. But there is like a level of, and we're going to get to your actual review of the place in a second, but there is a level of like, if anyone's been to a Michelin star restaurant, in my opinion, most of them are always like really great service, and the food is like fancy little plates where you're like, I need to get a slice of pizza after, sort of thing. But it's an experience, and you kind of like lean into it for the night.
You literally just did my review. Like that's my review, bro.
You went and got Brava straight after?
Yeah, I got that patata Brava. I got the spend like €1,000 on a meal and go get a $2 patata. Whoa, wait. Well, let me add this. I know Jack had a comment, but one thing I add is I have to give credit to my wife. There's no chance I'd ever pay for this meal, so she paid for it. But Jack, hit that.
I was just going to say, it's very similar to what we're talking about at the beginning, where like people bucket like the idea of marketing expenses. Even as somebody who's worked professionally in advertising and marketing for a long, long time, you like constrain your thinking a lot of the time to like very typical mediums, like, oh, we're going to buy an ad on TV, or we're going to, but really like, it's like almost all of your business activity outside of running the company is a marketing exercise, right? It's like every single thing you do is marketing. And just another like Michelin anecdote, they, anybody who works on that account, they send you to the factory in South Carolina. So you go there for 3 days, you do a tour, you see all the like rubber compounds of the tires.
Taking it built. Back. You were just in the car factory again, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like you go and speak to people that are working the line, people that design the compounds. And then they've got this place called the Proving Grounds, which is like a test track. And then you go out there for the day, and they do these like mad exercises where they'll put you in, like they give you an M3 and they'll put it like on shitty tires. And then they'll say like, get it around a track as fast as you can. And then they'll give you a minivan on half-worn Michelins and you do the same thing and you beat it every time.
Wait, that Jack, did you drive? Good. Did you drive?
Yeah, everybody drives.
Oh,
everybody
drives. Good. Yo, this Michelin account, did you only do tire stuff or did they talk about the guide?
No, the guide was completely separate. I did all the car stuff.
Like Bilal said, back in the car.
That's so good.
Yeah. It's fun. And they did actually, they were doing the influencer thing a long time ago. So we did an event with the Stig in Palm Springs where they flew out like 100 YouTubers. Top Gear guy. Yeah. The guy that used to drive the Top Gear, the Stig. And they flew out 100 YouTubers, like 250 supercars. And then they just like go nuts, just make for a tire launch. It was mad. We had like police escorts around Joshua Tree, like closed down the whole of Joshua Tree National Park, ripping Ferraris through the desert. And these kids just show up with their cameras and stuff. It's like, how much more compelling is the stuff that they make than like, doing another high production tire commercial that would go on like 60 seconds on local TV. It's like, if you get it right, it's just like so much more effective way to spend your money on marketing. Jack, and that was years ago now. That would go crazy, even crazier this time around. It's
kind of what you said before, like the 50 Seeds, like the Minions movie. We saw the one that really popped off, but in the same way here, it took probably 200 people to make something for it to actually get any room for it to go.
Yeah, exactly. And like I don't know, movies as well is like so much more of a cultural thing that people like want to feel like a part of. And it's like a story that everybody's consumed together.
Versus tires.
Yeah. Trying to share tire stuff, which is just like, but you get the same brief, right? It's like, we want to go viral and do the most. And there are ways to do that. Obviously, one other amazing example that we didn't touch on is Red Bull for all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, they're the best.
It's like, hey, we got an energy drink. What are we going to do? We're going to like slap our name and logo on these like really, really compelling extreme sports moments. Monster did, this was always in our pitch decks. You remember Ken Block, Gymkhana? Do you know that?
Ken Block?
No.
Man, you boys are in for a treat. But this dude who like, they would shut down San Francisco, and it's like this guy that can drift cars through like the closed streets of cities. They had him in warehouses doing I think it was Monster Energy that sponsored that, but they got like, where Red Bull kind of did the snowboarding, skateboarding, like extreme sports. They like were like, oh, we're going to go after that, but just in a different way. And they did motorsports. And now you see, that played out pretty well for them. But it's interesting. It has to almost be like ideologically aligned. And then if you just choose the right people and give them some money, the rest figures itself out.
Let me before we dig in more to this meal. How often do you guys get the, hey, corporate brand so and so, what do you guys want? And they're like, we need this to go viral. Like that was the brief. How often did that happen, Bilal?
I mean, any like brand meeting, it wasn't like every week, but it's like you have a strategic, in air quotes, like meeting once a quarter with senior people.
Go viral.
But I will say Google did a pretty good job of like leaning into that. Eventually they started this thing called Brand Labs. I don't know, Jack, if you ever went to one of those, but they have a whole team that like they basically would fly out like the execs to Mountain View or San Bruno, for YouTube, and in the West Coast, and they would kind of show them the mothership and like get them excited about all this stuff. And then it'll be like a 1 or 2 days with the execs. And that's, to get them to come for 1 hour meeting is a lot. To come for a whole day is next level. So it's like they bring out all the stops, they bring out all the product people and the experts in the viral stuff, and they come and they'll bring like creators. They'll be like, hey, Mr. Beast, come and hang out. Maybe not Mr. Beast, but maybe when he was coming up. And so that level of conversation would happen like every 3 to 12 months. If you're doing
Beast
your job
is inviting YouTube and Susan Wachowski down in his crib. So why don't you come down to my pad? Or let me jump into the Margaret's meal. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but Bilal nailed it. So Jack missed this part, but I traveled to Europe and I'm like, I'm bringing one pair of shoes, and it has to be slip-ons. So I told my wife that. I'm like, it's summer, I only want shorts. So I don't have the attire for this proper meal. So I roll into the Margaret's. I'm pronouncing it wrong. So it's about 20 minutes outside of San Sebastian, which is incredible. San Sebastian is something else. Probably saying that wrong too. But I roll into this restaurant. Everybody's dressed to the nines. I roll in wearing board shorts and flip-flops. And I'm just like, I'm such an asshat. And this is 8 p.m. But it's everything you said, right? It's 27 courses. It's all about presentation. But literally, this is my takeaway from it. So they'll come there and they'll like, have you guys eaten at a Michelin restaurant? Bilal had an Indian restaurant, right?
Yeah, and I've done a few, yeah. But
you've done a few, Jack, you've done a few Michelin restaurants?
I actually have only done it at a Michelin event where they bring the Michelin chefs to serve food. But same idea, yeah.
So you walk into this restaurant.
I did it in Mexico recently when I was there a few months ago.
That's one of the top ones. Yeah.
On
that's
the chef's table,
10,
if you've seen it. So maybe I can give an example after, but go on.
Yeah, well, let's discuss it. Is like, what's the first thing I noticed is that there's way more servers than any of the restaurant, right? Like,
like every single row, right?
One
like,
to one.
Like, why is one person would literally come to the table, be holding the food, and another one has to come and give it to you. And I'm like, just give me the food. I'm ready to eat. Like, you don't need a second person who's a specialist and dropping it on the table.
It's like 1-to-1 basically, right? Like one guest gets one server, right? And then each meal, I realized as they're feeding, like they obviously want to hit every single one of your senses, right? Like, Bilal, did you have this experience? It's like,
yeah, that's the really amazing
touch,
part. Yeah.
They want, so typically when you eat, right, it's like nose and taste. Well, nose basically is taste. Like the olfactory is where most of the taste comes from. It's like your eyes, right? Obviously, everything looks nice, so your eyes are being brought into it. They hit you with very specific smells, like they're wafting stuff at you, right? So I'm sitting and they're not even feeding me. They're just wafting air at me. I'm like, bro, can I just get the food? Like, I don't need any more wafts. But the one thing that really stood out, there's two things. Is like every bowl, a plate at this restaurant was heavy. It was like 10 pounds. It was like you couldn't even you had to lift it. And I had the chance to talk to the chef after, and he's like, yeah, that's like. He told me straight up, he's like, I'll be honest with you, like, taste is not our number one concern. I'm like,
that's crazy, right?
Yeah, he's like, I'm like, it came through the food, bro. And he's, I mean, like, the whole point is that you read these reviews and they're all talking about, we're trying to challenge your palate. I'm like, bro, I don't want my palate challenged. Like, I just want some good patata privadas or whatever it's called, right? But that's the number one thing I noticed. It was like all the senses get brought into it. A lot of they would like the servers would come and like crunch things in front of you. They have really crunchy items. Like I had this like bar of apple, a dried apple, and they specifically crunched it. So you just remember, I can hear the crunch right now. And then the meals. So
Trung, can I just add one thing? Because the way you're describing it to me, like the word that's standing out is that it's just an experience, right? Like that's kind of what you're like. It's not the food is not what they're optimizing for. I'm sure they want really good food, but it's like the full sensory experience. Like
I had 20 better meals in Spain, if I'm being honest with myself, right? I'm sure the ingredients they had were the best of the best, local, super fresh. But like it wasn't. I mean, they're trying to challenge you specifically. I mean, if you read reviews of this place, it's like a lot of people like you'll come out it's like, oh cool, you ate lamb intestine. Wasn't the best thing in the world, right? But two things feeling wise, I remember was a weight. So I will always remember the weight. It's the heaviest weight I've ever felt, and the utensils were always a different temperature. So like it really. So like I was joking with my wife. I'm like, I roll out of. She's like, oh, how? Like a couple days later, she's like, how do you feel about the Michelin restaurant? It's like, I'll be honest with you. I feel a little bit pretentious because I can never go to a restaurant now with light plates and like room temperature utensils.
Well, they're just changing the temperature for each meal.
If a restaurant gives me a room temperature utensil, no bueno. That's no longer acceptable. So that's my take.
Gone Hollywood fun.
Yeah,
Hollywood
I've gone Hollywood
over here.
So Bilal, the Mexico one though is like that. I would say way higher.
It's really beautiful. Well, it's probably similar. I mean, it's the most beautiful place, right? Like, and honestly, I'm the same. Like, I like food a lot, but it's most of the time I prefer like a home cooked meal. Like, I want to find the local place where the grandma's in the back, like whipping up the local cuisine, right? But yeah, once in a while, you're gonna like go for the experience, especially when you're traveling. I think that's a good time to do it.
Totally.
And I will say the Puyol one is I'll say well priced in air quotes. I can't remember how much it was, but compared to a lot of these places, it's one of the more. It's still probably honestly like $300-400. I'm not sure, but it's like you're paying for the experience. So you're like, oh, you got to go there. I watched the chef table show, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in there. The one thing I will say, they cook this mole. Have you guys had mole? Like
this
Mexican
is Rene
food?
Redzepi, right? It's Rene Redzepi.
Maybe, I don't even remember, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember seeing the mole. It's a famous the chocolate-based sauce.
Like 7. They're cooking it for 7 years. It's literally still going. So they keep adding stuff into it. So that is kind of like interesting. You're like, okay, I had better mole in Oaxaca straight after, but the place itself, I'm like, okay, that's kind of a cool science experiment. Let me see what the fuss is about. I will say the best one though is, I don't even know if this place was Michelin star, but in Argentina when we were there, there's a famous steak place. And that guy, he kind of treated us because I was trying to get reservation there, but it was like booked up for 2 months. And I randomly through Creator Lab, I had interviewed a few like restaurant people. Ooh. And I messaged them like, hey, I'm in Argentina, where should I go? And they like introduced me to them, and he thought I was proper press. So he rolled out the red
you were
carpet.
An inspector. He thought you were an inspector.
Literally, yeah. And so it's even better service than probably the Michelin people get, because the Michelin people, they don't know who they are.
They don't know. Well, dude, what do you think we should do? Should we start messaging restaurants? But hey, I co-host of the Non-Investment Advice podcast.
I mean, it probably works, man. I mean, it definitely helps. So anyway.
Well, let me tie a bow on this conversation with the critiques of Michelin, because there are many.
Critiques.
Well, there are very many, right?
I love the way you say certain words, bro. The Peloton and critiques. Brilliant.
Well, here are the criticisms of Michelin, because it's actually become quite a bit of a thing. I'm not going to even pretend to pronounce these chefs' names, but over the years, a number of chefs have given back their stars. So I want to establish something. Michelin says you can't give back the stars. It's like, they're not yours to give back. It's like, we are putting it in the guide. It's like, you guys don't understand this. We control it. You don't control it, Mr. Chef. Like, number one, the restaurant gets it, right? If a chef leaves a restaurant, he doesn't get to take the stars with him. So the restaurant gets the stars. So a lot of chefs are like, I don't want these stars, because it increases the demand and it changes everything, right? So Rene Redzepi, which is, I think, the guy that does Pujo, and before he did Noma in that's
the
Denmark.
one, yeah.
That's a super famous one. This is what he said. He said the stars ruined his creativity as a chef, because there's a couple reasons. This is fascinating. Then one of the number one criteria for the Michelin assigning stars is they want consistency. Like, if they have a really good fish on the menu, they want that fish the same every time for every person, right? Fair enough. That's a pretty fair thing. But what that does is it stops chefs from experimenting, because they're not going to dick around anymore, right? Like,
that's a good point, yeah.
If this fish is working, we're not going to lose a star. Like, there's one French chef that actually killed himself, and people think it's because he lost a star. And like, France is very specific about, man, you know how French with their food, right?
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, especially the food. Like, these so France gets made fun of for their laws around the labor laws. 38 hours a week, right? That's the most people can work. But guess what? Restaurant industry gets a dispensation. You can work 45, 50 hours a week if you apply to a restaurant, because of that culture. And let's be honest, you're not working 10 hours a day at these restaurants. You're working 17, 18 hours a day, right? Like, hardcore Michelin-style restaurants are the ones that train you up. I mean, the restaurant industry is savage, man. You guys must know this, right? It's a super savage industry. And let me actually just read through what the stars are supposed to represent. So 1 star is a very good restaurant, in air quotes. 2 stars are excellent cooking that is worth a detour. And 3 stars are exceptional cuisine that is worth a special journey. These mean nothing.
Wait, a special journey.
Yeah.
This sounds like the equivalent of Yoga Babble.
I know, it's a Yoga Babble from Galloway, right?
Yeah.
So these are the criticisms. It's like it ruins creativity, because it's the endowment effect. You have the stars, you don't want to lose them.
It's also a certain type of cuisine, right? Like, it's always the fanciest.
It's
like,
very European based. Like
yeah.
It started European. It's got more obviously because Japan. But Japan is just such a different beast, right? Japan's culture of perfection. They're going to be the best at almost, like, they will produce the best at almost any craft, because they're so crazy about it.
Yeah.
But the other thing, but to your point, geographically, it was very Eurocentric, obviously, for many reasons to start off with. The stress that it adds. The restaurants is like, the system is so, you don't know when the inspectors come. You don't know when Bilal Zaidi is showing up at your restaurant and about to inspect your food. But that creates so much stress, right? Is like, there's a test that you have these stars, you might lose it. You never know what's happening. You cannot mess up at any meal. It could be anyone. That level of stress is like extremely unhealthy. That's why, like, again, one French chef, many people believe he killed himself. He lost a star. This is the level of stress that they put on you. They say they don't take money for, it's very objective, independent. That, I believe them. I believe that they have to maintain that, but people are criticizing that and saying, we're seeing the way these stars are signed. And
it's like FIFA World Cup, mate.
Yeah, exactly, right? What?
The next
Qatar.
One's coming to Qatar, yeah.
Bro, why are we in Qatar? Can somebody tell me why we're in Qatar?
We're going to have to do a whole episode on that. That's the,
the
red pill segment.
I need to do a fact check here on a Trung stat from earlier on.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
I was just looking up the distribution of stars. So there's 2,300 one-star Michelin restaurants, 400 2 and 113 ones. Sorry, I got that the wrong way around. 2,300 1-star, 400 2-star, 113 3-star. But this is saying, Trung, there's 600 Michelin star restaurants in France, which is the...
Oh,
right.
got it.
Well, sorry, I meant 3 stars specifically. Is that true? Because that might not be true.
Could be true.
Caveat. Love it.
Yeah.
All right.
I was just not listening.
So 2. Wait.
Yeah, fair enough.
Wait. Jack's got me, though. Well, Jack brought up a different fact. It's like, where are the most restaurants versus where are the most 3 stars? But very fair.
Totally fair. I just, we got to fact check it for the audience.
Okay, yeah, we have to.
Fake news on everyone.
Wait,
True.
Bilal, I know your time's running short here. So, look, super quickly was the high stress, not super representative food. And I think the main one I think is the creativity is super interesting, right? It like changes how you serve food. You care more about the appearance versus the actual food itself, and the experimenting kind of goes away. Yeah,
and I think it's also, like you said, it attracts a certain type of person, which for a lot of restaurants is who they want to serve to, right? Like people who are willing to spend a lot of money and appreciate all the details. On the flip side, it's like you might just want to be a nice local restaurant that doesn't have tourists flying in for it.
That's literally what they're saying. Some guys are like, I wanted to serve fried chicken, and Michelin doesn't like fried chicken. So I'm like, I don't want to do it. That's
annoying. They're artists, man. Like anyone else. They just want to create the things they want to create. They don't want to have to make the pop single version of the fried chicken. They want to do like crazy stuff. But yeah, really interesting. I think I'm also curious to hear if anyone has any examples.
Yeah, let's get some Michelin stories.
Well, the Michelin, I was saying like the Guinness Book of World Records thing we said, and Michelin, like what are companies who have created stuff that is like now we think of that company for that new thing? Because I know there's probably like another 5 or 10 that I've forgotten.
Yeah, let's get some good ones.
But curious if anyone's got any of those.
Those are good, man. They're all thread material, Trung, too.
Yeah.
You've done a few of those. You are right. Japan leads by a margin on the 3 stars.
Jamie Butcher over here. Yeah, he's been on the
I love it.
I want to make sure I'm coming in and correcting myself before the end. Double fact check.
Butcher hitting me up with that CNN fact check on dump the Chiron. All right, guys, Bilal, I know you got a boogie, but let me do one last segment on Spain. Let's talk about Gaudi, the world famous architect. Because have you guys seen the Sagrada Familia?
Is that the big cathedral thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jack,
I've been to that. Yeah.
We both been
Beautiful.
to it. I have to say, I think it's the most impressive structure I've ever seen in my life. And I want to talk about God. I just can't. I mean, there's going to be many that are up there. It's like,
what's your most impressive structure you've seen?
Off the top of your head, bro.
That's a good. I'd have to think about.
Well, here it is, right? Let's put up for the viewers. If you haven't been to Sagrada, it's obscene. The amount of detail in this thing on the outside, it's kind of what under the inside is insane, right? It's like these are meant to represent tree trunks.
I don't remember those lights.
Yeah, dude, the window panes. So let me actually talk. Let me talk about a couple of things about this, because I think this goes back to a couple of our AMA episodes. So Gaudi, world famous architect from Spain, born in 1850, started the Sagrada Familia. That's my 10th mispronounced Spanish word today, but it means the Holy Family, and the church was supposed to, represent Spain was a historically Catholic country, but as modernism took over in the late 1800s, is supposed to, re-anchor the country to their religious past. But I'll tell you what's interesting about this. And this is the point that really made me think out. So Gaudi has I think 80 structures he did in his life, and his work's dotted all over Barcelona. Like, obviously, you guys been there. If you're going to Barcelona, you're going to see Gaudi all day, all night. And but what's fascinating about him was he spent the last 43 years of his life working on Sagrada Familia, never finished it. And 2 points I want to say about that. The first point, and I'll throw it to you guys, was we're talking about, this is the point I was thinking about, and this ties back to TikTok earlier today. How difficult is it to spend 43 years of your life on something, never seen it finished, right? It's like, I think the TikTokification and even the stuff I'm doing, like just on Twitter, anything social media related, is like the feedback cycles. Like, I'm not write a once a week email, and that burns me out. It's like, could you imagine? That's what I'm talking about. It's like, this guy's life work.
Yeah.
Dude, this dude, he was hit by a tram when he died, and they found him. They didn't even know it was Gaudi because he was such a obsessive itinerant working on this project. They found his underwear. You know what it was? It was a piece of cloth held together by 4 pins. Like, this guy, you know what I mean? It's like,
my man Trung has been reading some Wikipedia,
no, but I mean, like,
bro.
I just couldn't believe. I was like, dude, I was brought to I got so emotional looking at this thing, knowing what this guy did. Never seeing it finished.
Yeah.
It's still not done. It's still not done. They're still working on it. They think it's going to be done by 2030, broadly to his specifications, because he left behind some models and his plans, but no one actually knows what he wanted in the end. And 43 years of his life's work, never got to see it finished. And I was actually thinking, is like, who is going to do that today? What artist is going to come up into this social media society that we have, where the gratification is instant? You go viral instantly. Billions of people love you instantly, and then they forget about you next week. Sagrada Familia is going to be there forever. It's going to be there for hundreds of years. Oh, well, maybe not. You never know. Terrorism is crazy. Barcelona's been hit up. It has been hit up last night. No, I'm just saying. It's been targeted many times, right? But Sagrada Familia has been targeted because of what it represents. But I'm just saying, these structures last forever, right? Ostensibly, they last forever. They're meant to last forever.
They're forever in the mind, Trung.
Well, I'm just throwing it to you guys. It's like, there's a sadness in me when I was thinking about this, because I don't think this is going to happen anymore. I just don't think it's going to happen anymore. I would like.
So not possible, physically, physically, and labor-wise. Like the other one, you asked me. The question for me, the only one that probably comes close, and it's not as impressive in terms of how intricate and beautiful it is necessarily, but just the sheer volume of workload that was needed to make the pyramids. Probably aliens as well, since we're done. No, but I mean, there's a whole, I'm obviously joking, but I don't know how they made that thing, man. I don't know if you guys have seen the pyramids live, but you look up and you're like, how the hell did someone make this? That's
probably, when I say most impressive structure, I was like, I'm talking specifically about the detail. But to your point,
then this is definitely up there. It's very beautiful.
Obviously, there's a Great Wall. You can go on. There's many other structures that are super impressive. It's I just walked away from this. I'm like, I cannot believe this came out of somebody's head.
No, that's true.
He spent 43 years. And I literally just think, it's who's going to do this now? Well, there's so many elements, like you guys said, right? It's like regulation-wise, all these voices that wouldn't want these things to happen.
Well, the church paid for it, right?
The church, it was actually a rich individual, patron. That paid for it.
But
Well, and
that was
today,
the cause. And there's the economic calculation, like Bilal is saying, is let's build this $2 billion building.
Totally.
To represent an idea that we all believe in is
you could do it so wasteful now, right?
It's not going to make it past the first meeting.
Totally.
How are we going to get it viral, guys?
You'd rather spend the $2 billion on influencers to talk about how good your country is on TikTok.
Well, think about it. People are getting mad at Elon for spending billions to go to space, right? Think about throwing about
Imagine a country doing that, and then everyone's like, "What about that war that you started?" And what about It's not.
You're right. It's that's what I mean.
Will get cancelled.
What is going to get remembered? This. So this thing is. My last note on it was as I'm walking out, exiting the Sagrada, I saw a donation thing, but it was taking Apple Pay. I was just laughing, right? But this thing makes 30 million euros a year just from tickets. So that's all going back into it. So we're talking like this multi-billion structure and this individual with the story. That's the other part of it is like, here's my very last thought. You know, you've seen all this Dolly AI art. This is the difference. The story is not there with this stuff. It can look visually appealing, but you're not going to get the story of the guy that spent 43 years of his life. And then when he died, hit by a tram, they found his underwear with 4 like pins holding it together, right? But that story's not going to be there. And that is what the value is. And that's why this, when you look into AI art and you're like, oh, it's going to replace all this, like that story will never be created. And that's what matters.
Yeah, leave it on a deep note there, Trung.
Sorry, guys.
Love that. Love that.
That's class. We got to go more into that stuff.
Trung, the only thing I was going to say is the only thing that compares to it is like the natural. This sounds very, you know, like woo-woo, but like the natural things you see, like obviously mountains and whatever, but there's certain things you see where you're like, oh my God, like,
I can't believe this.
You can't replace that, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I agree. All this old stuff, especially in Europe, man, there's so many. I mean, Asia has a lot as well.
Asia
the
too,
US is totally. A bit of a younger civilization in terms of like this current
well, that's
form.
The thing,
anyway.
Right? It's much younger. Like you go
it doesn't
to
have as much history in this current form. Obviously, there is history from way before. But even like walking around London, man, like honestly, I just love like St. Paul's Cathedral. I sent you guys that picture with my parents there. It's like you're just casually walking around. It's got these beautiful structures in there. Anyway, I know we're running out of time. So the CeFi, DeFi stuff we can talk about another week. Anything else, boys, before we cut off?
No, dude, that's perfect. Awesome. That got a little bit deep, but I appreciate that. I had to give my Spain spiel. I was just blown away when I saw that thing. Yeah, man. Glad you guys had a good time and good to have you back, mate. And I know for people listening, made it all the way here. Thanks for being here as always. I know we have been 3 of us have been like coming in and out the last few weeks because we've been all on the road. But we're still trying our best to bring you the best stuff every week. Insane episode for you next week.
Yeah, we do. I don't know how much. We can.
No, let's just know. Just
know. Okay, just know. We don't want to preview too much, but if you made it here, make sure you are listening next week because you will not want to miss that.
Yeah, if you are a long-term NIA listener, this is going to be an event.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. On that beautiful note, we'll see you guys next week for a very special episode. And thanks for your help spreading word as always. And see you next week.